Hi, my name is Daphne Whitford. I'm 30 years old, and this is the story of how my mother-in-law ruined my gender reveal and how that moment cost her the right to be anywhere near my son. Before I start, please like, share, and subscribe if you want to hear more stories like this. People love to say, family is everything. By the end of this video, you might question what that word even means. For a while, I genuinely believed I'd hit the jackpot. When I married Nathan, I didn't just get a husband. I got what looked like the perfect family. His mom, Barbara, was the kind of woman Pinterest boards are built around. She baked homemade sourdough every weekend, the kind with that blistered, crackly crust that sings when you slice into it. She remembered everyone's birthdays and wrote handwritten cards with looping cursive and inspirational quotes. She was warm, she was thoughtful, she hugged me like she meant it, and I loved her. Or at least I thought I did. I thought we were building something real. Part of that was because my own parents were gone. A year before I got pregnant, a drunk driver ran a red light and turned a random Tuesday night into the worst day of my life. One phone call, and suddenly I was an orphan in her late 20s, planning funerals instead of Sunday dinners. So when Barbara baked extra loaves just for you, sweetheart, or called to ask how work was going, it slipped so easily into the shape of something I desperately missed, a mother. Then I got pregnant, and everything changed. It started small, like a hairline crack in a glass you don't notice until it's already spreading. We were at Barbara and William's house in Scottsdale for our usual Sunday roast. Their dining room always looked like a catalog spread, mahogany table, matching chairs, linen napkins ironed into perfect rectangles. The air smelled like garlic and rosemary and a dozen other things that should have felt comforting. Barbara set down a platter of herb-crusted prime rib that could make you cry, then passed me a bowl of garlic mashed potatoes. "So," she said, smiling as she slid the bowl across the table, "have you two thought about whether you'll find out the gender?" I glanced at Nathan, and we both did that little sparkly look couples do when they're sitting on a secret. My heart fluttered with this fizzy kind of joy. "Actually," I said, "we're planning a gender reveal party. Nothing huge, just something intimate with family and our closest friends." Barbara's fork froze halfway to her mouth. "A gender reveal party?" she repeated, like I'd just told her we were hosting a summoning ritual in the backyard. "Isn't that a bit attention-seeking?" Her voice was light, but that word landed like a slap. Nathan's hand found mine under the table. I felt his thumb rub soothing circles over my knuckles. "Mom, it's really important to Daphne," he said gently. "She lost both her parents in that car accident last year, remember? This is helping her build new traditions, new memories." I stared down at my plate. I hated when people brought up the accident for me. But he wasn't wrong. I was trying to build something. A life that didn't feel like a before and after wound. "I'm just saying," Barbara continued, shifting into that tone some mothers master. Soft, reasonable, and completely condescending. "In my generation, we were simply grateful for a healthy baby. No fireworks or social media spectacles required." Spectacles. I forced a smile, my cheeks starting to ache. "It's not about that. It's about creating a special memory with the people we love, sharing this moment together." Barbara's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "And who exactly is orchestrating this event?" she asked. "Who's in charge?" "Misha," Nathan caught himself, correcting smoothly. "Daphne and her friend Haley are handling most of the planning." Barbara set her fork down with a little too much force. The china rattled. "I see," she said. "So the grandmother isn't involved in any meaningful way. I suppose I'm just expected to show up and clap on cue like some audience member." "You're absolutely welcome to help," I offered, even though the words felt like chewing broken glass. "We could really use your input on the catering menu." "How incredibly generous of you," she replied, sarcasm dripping from every syllable. "William, did you hear that? I've been granted permission to select the napkin colors." William, poor man, looked up from his plate with the weary eyes of someone who's been running emotional interference for 35 years. "Barbara," he sighed, "let the kids plan their party however they want." The rest of dinner was mostly just the sound of silverware scraping porcelain and my appetite evaporating. Nathan's jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscles pulsing at the sides of his face. I told myself it was just a bad moment. Hormones, miscommunication, anything but the truth that was starting to form. Barbara did not like not being in charge. A few days later, I met my best friend Haley at our favorite coffee shop downtown, a little place called the Roasted Bean. They make lavender lattes that taste like a hug and a mild caffeine addiction at the same time. Haley took one look at my face and slid her chocolate croissant across the table toward me. Barbara drama? She asked, eyebrows raised. Is it that obvious? I broke off a corner of the croissant, letting the buttery flakes melt on my tongue. She practically had a meltdown at dinner because we didn't ask her to plan the entire gender reveal. Haley rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. Barbara's always been controlling about family events, she said, stirring her cappuccino. Remember your wedding? You wanted sage green and ivory, and somehow everything ended up champagne and blush. She meant well, I said automatically, but even to my own ears, it sounded weak. Did she, though? Haley shot back, because to me, it looked a lot like a hostile takeover with tiered cakes. My phone buzzed on the table, another text from Barbara. I sighed and turned the screen so Haley could read. Been thinking about your little gathering. Blue is traditional for boys, but have you considered navy? Much more sophisticated. Also, powder blue photographs better. Just a thought from someone with experience. Your little gathering, Haley repeated, eyes widening. Oh, she's already trying to rebrand it. That's not even the worst one, I muttered, scrolling up to the previous message. Listen to this. Found the absolute perfect venue for your reveal. My friend Dorothy runs the membership committee at Pinehurst Country Club. Their garden terrace is stunning. I've already put down a deposit to hold the date. She did what? Haley nearly sloshed coffee on herself. Daphne, you need to shut this down. Now. She's steamrolling you, and the baby isn't even here yet. A part of me wanted to laugh it off, make excuses. Another part, quieter but sharper, whispered that Haley was right. I should have listened to that voice. 2 days later, I was standing in the nursery, folding tiny onesies with cartoon elephants, when my phone rang. The screen flashed Lauren, Nathan's younger sister. My stomach dipped. Haley was right. Lauren never called for nothing. Hey, I answered, pressing the phone between my shoulder and ear as I smoothed out a little gray romper. Everything okay? There was a tremor in her voice that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Daphne, I need to tell you something, she said. And you're going to be really upset. My hand stilled on the fabric. What happened? I was in the kitchen yesterday getting water, Lauren said, words tumbling out now. And Mom was on the phone with Aunt Patricia. She didn't know I could hear her. She told Aunt Patricia she already knows whether you're having a boy or a girl. For a moment, the room tilted, the pastel walls and half-finished forest murals swimming in my vision. That's impossible, I said slowly. The envelope's been at Sweet Dreams Bakery since Tuesday. Nobody knows except them. On the other end of the line, Lauren took a shaky breath. She told Aunt Patricia she called your doctor's office pretending to be you, Lauren whispered. Said there was some mix-up with the bakery order, and she needed to confirm the gender. Something cold and heavy settled in my chest. She did what? The words came out of me as this strangled half-scream, half-gasp. I sank down into the rocking chair we'd built last weekend, one hand flying to my stomach like I could shield the baby from this, from her. And there's more, Lauren said miserably. She's planning to announce the gender herself at your party. She already ordered this custom gift that makes it obvious. What kind of gift? I asked, even though I already knew I wasn't going to like the answer. A personalized baby blanket, Lauren said. Blue, with grandson embroidered across it in silver thread. She told Aunt Patricia, and I quote, Daphne's not blood family. I should be the one to share news about my grandchild. The words hit me like physical blows. Not blood family. As if the last 3 years of Sunday roasts and holiday photos and sourdough loaves had been nothing more than a performance, as if I could be swapped out for any other woman who could produce a grandchild. Daphne, Lauren's voice cracked through the static roaring in my ears. Are you still there? I stared at the unfinished trees on the nursery wall, Nathan's brush strokes frozen mid-branch. Yeah, I managed finally. I'm here. Thank you for telling me, Lauren. I know that wasn't easy. After we hung up, I sat in that rocking chair for a long time, one hand on my belly, listening to the silence of the house and the thunder of my own heartbeat. Somewhere between those two sounds, a line I'd been terrified to draw finally started to appear. My name is Daphne Whitford, and up until that phone call from Lauren, I still believed, desperately, foolishly, that maybe Barbara's behavior was just enthusiasm mixed with poor boundaries. Maybe she didn't mean to take over. Maybe she didn't understand how her words landed. But what Lauren told me? There was no way to pretty it up, no way to soften the edges. Barbara didn't just cross a line. She leapt over it, burned the ground behind her, and waved from the other side like she expected applause. I sat in that rocking chair, staring at the mural Nathan had been painting. A forest of tall, quiet trees, soft green light, little animals hidden between the branches like secrets. My baby's room. Our room. And now Barbara knew something about our baby that I didn't, that Nathan didn't. Something she had no right to know. The longer I sat there, the harder it became to breathe. My phone felt heavy in my hand as I dialed Haley. She answered on the first ring. Hey, what's wrong? You sound weird. She called the doctor's office, I whispered. Who? Barbara. The name trembled out of me like it was made of glass. She pretended to be me. She got the gender. She already knows. For a moment there was nothing. No breath. No sound. Just Haley's stunned silence. Then, she did what? Haley's voice cracked through the phone like a lightning strike. Daphne, that's illegal. Like, actual illegal. You can't impersonate a patient. That's, oh my God, I'm coming over. No, I said quickly. No, don't. I'm okay. I need to think. Think about what? Haley demanded. This is next level controlling. This is psychotic. She stole a moment from you. That baby is literally inside your body, and she decided she deserved the information more than you? What the hell? I closed my eyes, letting her outrage hold me up for a second. I'm going to confront her, I said quietly. I have to. Good, Haley snapped, because this woman is acting like she's the one giving birth. I exhaled shakily. I'll call you after. But I didn't call. I drove. Barbara's house looked like something out of a home magazine. White stone, perfect landscaping, jasmine curling along the walkway, blooming sweet and false in the late afternoon light. My finger hovered over the doorbell. Then I pressed it. Barbara answered with a warm smile and a dusting of flour on her apron. She smelled like sugar and cinnamon, homemade snickerdoodles. Daphne, what a lovely surprise, she chirped. I'm just baking a few things for the party. Nathan's favorite, of course. Barbara, I said, stepping past her into the foyer, we need to talk. Her smile faltered, but she closed the door behind me. Is something wrong? Is it the baby? The baby's fine, I said. This is about you. A flicker of irritation passed over her eyes, quick, sharp, practiced away for decades. I didn't give her a chance to compose herself. You called my doctor's office pretending to be me. Her face went still. Just still. Not guilty, not embarrassed, just calculating. Who told you that? She snapped. Was it Lauren? I swear, that girl... It doesn't matter who told me, I said. Is it true? Barbara exhaled through her nose, the way people do when they're trying to look patient, but are actually furious. I was trying to help, she said. These bakery people make mistakes all the time with colors. I didn't want your big moment ruined by incompetence. That wasn't your call to make. Oh, please, she scoffed, waving a hand. You're being dramatic. I'm being... My voice rose. Barbara, you violated my privacy. You stole something that belonged to Nathan and me. That moment was ours. I'm the grandmother, she snapped. I have every right to know. No, I said, you don't. You have privileges, and you crossed a massive line. Her eyes narrowed. You know, she said, your mother would be horrified by the way you're speaking to me. I froze. She smiled as she saw the hit land. I had such lovely conversations with her at your wedding, Barbara continued softly, twisting the knife. She was so gracious, so respectful, not like this. Don't, I said. If she were here, she would be ashamed. Barbara, my voice shook with fury, do not bring my mother into this. She crossed her arms. Well, it's true. No, I whispered. It's cruel, and you know it. She didn't deny it. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then the door opened, and Nathan's father, William, walked in holding his briefcase. He stopped dead when he saw our faces. What's going on? Your wife, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady, called my doctor pretending to be me and found out the baby's gender without our permission. William turned to Barbara, eyebrows raised. Tell me that's not true. Barbara folded her arms tighter, chin lifting defiantly. I was helping. By impersonating your daughter-in-law? William's tone hardened. Barbara, that's not helping. That's a violation. It was for the baby. No, I said sharply. It was for you. 5 minutes later, I was in my car, hands shaking on the steering wheel. I didn't cry. Maybe I was too angry. Maybe I was too tired. I called Nathan. He answered after the first ring. Hey, babe, can I call you back? Shh. No, I said. Nathan, we have a serious problem with your mother. My voice didn't break. Not yet. But something inside me had. Something that would never rebuild the way it had been before. When the day of the gender reveal finally arrived, the sky was unreal, bright, cloudless, glowing like it had been hand-painted for a celebration. The kind of day where you expect laughter, squeals, balloons floating against the perfect blue. But inside me, everything felt like a storm warning. I kept replaying the confrontation with Barbara as I moved through the backyard, adjusting decorations that were already straight, smoothing tablecloths that didn't need smoothing. I'd barely slept. Nathan hadn't slept much either, even though he'd stormed straight to his parents' house after my call. He'd confronted his mother, I knew that much, but he hadn't told me everything they said. I didn't push, not then, not yet. "You okay?" he asked as he helped me hang a white and yellow balloon arch. "No," I said honestly, "but I'm here." Nathan reached out and brushed my cheek with his thumb. "She promised she wouldn't say anything," he said. "She swore she'd behave." "She knows something about our baby," I said softly. "Something she shouldn't know, something we don't even know." He winced. "I know, Daphne, I'm furious about it. But people already bought tickets. Your college roommate is driving 6 hours. My cousins are flying in." "I get it," I said, even though I hated that I did. "I don't want to ruin it for everyone else." He nodded, jaw tight. "We'll get through it." I wasn't so sure. Haley arrived an hour early, her Jeep rumbling up the driveway like a guardian angel with worse gas mileage. She stepped out carrying a tote bag full of backup plan supplies, because of course she did. One look at my face, and she pulled me into a hug. "How's our favorite pregnant warrior?" "I'm one comment away from throwing a balloon arch at somebody," I muttered. "Totally valid," Haley said, patting my back. "Barbara texted this morning, right?" I grimaced. "She said she forgives me for overreacting. No actual apology." Haley snorted. "Classic narcissistic non-apology. I'm surprised she didn't include a coupon for forgiveness good for one day only." "Don't tempt fate," I muttered. "Let me know if you need me to tackle her," Haley said. I wore flat shoes. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time all week. It didn't fix anything, but it helped. People started arriving around 2:30. Nathan's cousins, my coworkers, friends, neighbors. The backyard slowly filled with chatter, clinking glasses, speculation about pink or blue. Everyone else seemed happy. I felt like the air was too thick, like something was about to snap. Then I saw her. Barbara arrived 20 minutes late, wearing powder blue. My stomach dropped. In her hand, she carried a massive, metallic silver gift bag, so big it could have held a toddler. William followed behind her with the posture of a man who wished he were invisible. "Where should I put this?" Barbara asked brightly, raising the giant bag. "It's a very special present." "With the other gifts," Nathan said immediately. His voice was calm, but his jaw was clenched tight. "We'll open everything after the reveal." Barbara blinked in exaggerated surprise. "Oh, but this one is different," she said sweetly, hugging the bag to her chest. "You'll want to open it first." Nathan stepped closer. "All gifts," he repeated, "will be opened after the reveal." For a moment, mother and son stared at each other like two magnets refusing to face the same direction. Barbara's smile cracked first. "Fine," she said tightly, "with the other gifts." But her smile, the brittle, sugary, dangerous one, never left her face. I watched the gift bag settle onto the table like a ticking bomb. As guests mingled, I tried to play the part, smiling, thanking people for coming, pretending my chest wasn't full of gravel. But everywhere I moved, I heard Barbara's voice. Faint, whispering, infecting the air. "So excited to finally share the news. Already found the perfect outfit for him. It's such a shame they didn't ask for my input sooner." I froze mid-step. Him. The word echoed like a siren in my head. I stepped closer, pretending to check on the refresher table, but really, I was zeroing in on Barbara and Aunt Sandra. "I just feel so connected to him already," Barbara said breathlessly. "A boy. Oh, it's everything I dreamed." My breath hitched. "Share what news?" I asked, loud enough for both women to hear. Barbara jumped, hand flying to her chest. "Daphne, you startled me." "What news are you planning to share?" I repeated. Around us, conversations began to quiet, curiosity swirling in like smoke. Barbara recovered quickly. "Oh, I was just telling Sandra how excited we are for the big reveal today." "Really?" I asked. "Because it sounded like you were implying you already know." Her smile tightened. "Don't be ridiculous. How could I possibly know?" I inhaled slowly. Then, by calling my doctor's office and pretending to be me. Silence dropped over the backyard like a curtain. Every head within 20 feet turned toward us. Barbara's face drained, then flushed red. "That's absurd," she said loudly. "She's making a scene." Nathan appeared at my side instantly. "Mom," he said, "we talked about this." Lauren pushed through the crowd. "She did it," she said firmly. "I heard her. She bragged about it." Barbara spun toward her. "Lauren, stay out of this." "You told Aunt Patricia," Lauren said, voice rising. "You said you deserved to announce it." And then chaos. Barbara's voice sharpened. Nathan's hardened. Lauren shook. People murmured. William buried his face in his hands. I stood in the center, trembling, breathing in short, thin gasps. And then, Barbara snapped. Fine, she shouted. Yes, I called. Yes, I know. And you're having a boy. A beautiful, healthy grandson. A collective gasp rippled through the yard. Nathan's face went white. My heart didn't just break. It dropped, plummeting straight through the earth. She hadn't just stolen my moment. She'd taken the remains of it and shattered them in front of 50 witnesses. I felt the world tilt, but I didn't fall. I straightened. You just couldn't help yourself, I whispered. You had to ruin this too. It's good news, Barbara shrieked. You should be thanking me. It wasn't about the news. It was about the message. This moment is mine, not yours. This baby is mine, not yours. You are temporary. I am the mother. But I wasn't that broken, quiet girl anymore. Not today. Not for my son. The moment Barbara screamed, "You should be thanking me," the backyard didn't just fall silent, it calcified. It froze into this hard, brittle quiet where every breath felt like it might shatter something. 50 faces stared at us. Friends, family, neighbors, people who came for cake and confetti and instead got front row seats to a meltdown of operatic proportions. Barbara stood near the refreshment table, chest heaving, powder blue dress trembling with her breath, like the color itself had been a prophecy. Lauren stood behind her, pale and shaking. William looked like he was bracing for an earthquake. Nathan looked like someone had ripped the floor out from under him. And I stood there with a hand on my belly, absorbing the blow. But Barbara wasn't done. Oh, stop being dramatic, she snapped, waving a hand as though batting away smoke. It's pink or blue. It's a cake color. Everyone knows gender reveals are silly anyway. It's not about the cake, I said quietly. But the quiet made the words cut deeper. It's about boundaries, Barbara. She rolled her eyes. Here we go. It's about respect, I continued. You couldn't let us have one moment, one thing that was supposed to be ours. Respect? Barbara barked out a laugh, bitter and sharp, like broken glass. You've been in this family for what, 3 years? 3. I've been building this family for 35, hosting holidays, managing birthdays, keeping everyone connected. And you come waltzing in here telling me I have no right to know about my own grandson? Nathan stepped closer to me. His arm brushed mine. He didn't say a word. He didn't need to. His silence was an answer. Barbara saw it, and she snapped like a stretched wire. Oh, wonderful, she spat. You're taking her side again. Your wife is causing a scene at her own party. Lauren's face flushed red with anger. She's causing a scene because you violated her privacy. Privacy? Barbara threw her hands in the air. I raised 3 children. I know more about pregnancy than she ever will. That was the moment the last part of me, the part that kept trying to give her grace, forgiveness, excuses, finally snapped. That's the problem, I said. My voice wasn't raised. It didn't have to be. You think this is your pregnancy, your baby, your event, but it's not. This is my body, my child, my life. Gasps rippled through the crowd again. Barbara stiffened, like I'd slapped her. Nathan took a step forward, face tight with disgust. Mom, he said, voice low, you went too far. I didn't, Barbara shrieked, jabbing a finger at him. I did what any good grandmother would do. By impersonating my pregnant wife? Nathan's voice cracked under the weight of fury and heartbreak. By going behind our backs? By stealing information you knew wasn't yours to take? It's public health information, she said helplessly. It's about my grandson. No, William finally said, stepping forward. His voice boomed across the yard in a way I'd never heard from him. Steady, resolute, exhausted. It was not your place, Barbara. She spun toward him, eyes wide. What? You're taking their side? I'm not taking sides, William said firmly. I'm acknowledging reality. You violated their privacy. You betrayed their trust. And now you've ruined this entire event. Barbara's breath came out in heaving fits. Her eyes darted around the circle of guests, every face looking at her, not with admiration, but with horror, disappointment, pity. Something inside her broke. I cannot believe this, she cried. Everything I've done for this family, for you, Nathan, all the years I poured into raising you, and this is how you repay me? Mom, Nathan began. No, she screamed. You don't get to lecture me about respect. I've carried this family for decades, through sickness, through holidays, through every ungrateful moment, and now you're letting her... She jabbed a finger toward me. Turn you against me. My heart was racing, but my voice came out steady. I didn't turn him against you. You did. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. You ungrateful little... Stop! Nathan's voice was a sharp command, slicing through the air. Barbara froze mid-breath. You don't speak to my wife like that. For the first time, real fear flickered in Barbara's eyes. Not fear of me, fear of losing her son. Nathan stepped to my side fully, placing a protective hand on my back. His voice shook, not with uncertainty, but with the relief of finally saying something he'd been swallowing for years. I've let you bulldoze people my entire life, he said. Me, Dad, Lauren, everyone, but not her, not anymore. Barbara took a step back, then another. No, she whispered. No, 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 you're all against me. She looked small suddenly, fragile, cornered, but then her face hardened. If you push me away, she said, you'll regret it when the baby comes. You'll see how much you need me. I shook my head. No, Barbara, we don't need you. My voice came out calm, solid, true. You had privileges, and you just lost every single one of them. The yard went silent, completely silent. Barbara staggered back like the words had physically struck her. You can't do that, she breathed. You can't. I just did. The sentence tasted like steel, unshakable. Shock rippled through the crowd again. But this time, it wasn't directed at me. It was directed at her. Barbara trembled, stunned, staring at me like she couldn't understand how the script had changed. Like she couldn't believe I wasn't the quiet, grateful daughter-in-law who let her shape the narrative. She turned to William. Say something, she begged. Tell them they can't do this. William looked at her for a long moment. Then he sighed, a slow, tired, heavy sigh that seemed to come from the bones. They can, Barbara. And with that, something unspoken broke between all of us. The party dissolved. People drifted away in stunned whispers. The cake sat untouched. The decorations swayed in the breeze like ghosts of a celebration that never happened. Nathan and I stood together in the wreckage of what should have been one of the happiest moments of our lives. But instead of joy, there was only the strange, empty quiet after a disaster. One that everyone would remember. One that changed everything. For the next week, people didn't call it the gender reveal. They called it the disaster. It spread through town faster than wildfire. Whispers in grocery store aisles. Co-workers pulling me aside in break rooms. Neighbors stopping mid-dog walk to murmur, Are you okay, honey? I heard. It was like our backyard had turned into a crime scene, and everyone was trying to reconstruct what happened. But the real disaster wasn't the spectacle. It was the ripple effect afterward. Nathan sat on the couch, head in his hands, while I wrote thank you cards to the few guests who handed us presents before fleeing the explosion site. My mom called 17 times yesterday, he muttered. 23 today. Dad left another voicemail. Says she's not eating. Says she's crying nonstop. I paused, pen hovering over a half-written note. I'm sorry she's upset, I said softly, but I'm not sorry for setting boundaries. Nathan exhaled, this long, ragged breath that told me he was tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. No, he said quietly. You're right. He didn't sound relieved, though. He sounded like someone letting go of a rope they've been gripping since childhood. Haley arrived that evening with an arsenal of psychological comfort food, kung pao chicken, lo mein, egg rolls, and enough fortune cookies to predict the next century. She spread everything across the coffee table like she was building a strategy board for war. All right, she said, plopping down between me and Nathan. What's the plan? Because the entire town is talking. Yoga class felt like TMZ this morning. Nathan groaned. I leaned back, rubbing my belly. My plan is simple, I said. Barbara will not be invited to doctor's appointments, or the baby shower, or the delivery room. Haley stabbed a piece of chicken with her chopsticks like she was sending a message to the universe. Good. Consequences. We love consequences. It's not punishment, I said quietly. It's safety. It's boundaries. Haley nodded. Exactly. Privileges revoked due to misuse. Nathan gave a humorless laugh. I've never done this with her before. I mean, I've set limits, but she'd push, and I'd cave. I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the years of tiptoeing, placating, swallowing discomfort just to keep the peace. You're grieving, I said softly. Not just what she did, but the illusion you had of her. His eyes softened with gratitude and something like exhaustion. Before either of us could say more, the doorbell rang. Nathan frowned. At this hour? He opened it to reveal Lauren, clutching a cream-colored envelope like it was radioactive. Hey, she said weakly. Mom wanted me to drop this off. Nathan stared at the envelope. An apology? Lauren grimaced. She calls it one. She came inside, sitting stiffly on the edge of the couch. How are you doing? I asked gently. Lauren let out a long, tired sigh. I've watched Mom pull stuff like this my whole life. Not on this scale, but the same pattern. Taking over my wedding. rearranging my house without asking, booked a cruise during my college graduation by accident. Always about her. Always. She rubbed her temples. This time, I couldn't pretend anymore. I'm so sorry you two got the worst version of her. Nathan put a hand on her shoulder. Thank you for telling Daphne the truth. Lauren smiled sadly. Someone had to. She left shortly after, and Nathan and I sat together on the couch to open the envelope. Inside was thick, expensive stationery, Barbara's signature style. I unfolded the letter. Dear Daphne, I'm sorry you felt hurt by my actions. I felt Nathan stiffen beside me. I was only trying to be helpful and involved, as a good grandmother should be. It pains me that you've chosen to interpret my caring nature as some kind of violation. There was nothing about impersonating me at a doctor's office. Nothing about stealing medical information. Nothing about screaming at me. I have always tried to welcome you into our family, despite you not being connected by blood. Perhaps I've been too accommodating, too patient, too generous, Nathan muttered. Oh my God. If my desire to be part of my grandson's life makes me a villain, then so be it. I hope someday you'll see that everything I do comes from a place of love, Barbara. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Then Nathan dropped his head into his hands. This is not an apology, he said flatly. This is manipulation with calligraphy. I folded the letter, placed it back into the envelope, and set it aside. I've made a decision, I said. Nathan lifted his head slowly, wary. What decision? I took a breath, not shaky this time, sure. Until your mother understands why what she did was wrong, not that we're upset, but why her actions were fundamentally wrong. I don't want her around our son. Nathan blinked, and blinked again. That's a big step. I know, I said, but think about it. If she does this now, before he's even born, what will she do when he's here? Will she ignore our rules, feed him foods we said not to, disprove our parenting in front of him, undermine us at every turn? Nathan swallowed. His voice was soft. But she's my mom. I know, I said gently. And you love her. I don't want to take that away, but loving someone doesn't mean letting them harm you forever, or letting them harm your child. Nathan's eyes filled. Anger, grief, clarity, all swirling together. You're right, he whispered. I hate it, but you're right. He reached for my hand. We'll do it together, he said. And for the first time in days, I believed him. 3 days later, we met Barbara and William at a neutral, public, witness-filled place, a small coffee shop called The Morning Grind, the kind of cozy spot where people pretend to read books but actually eavesdrop. Better than professional spies. Barbara arrived, dressed in what I could only describe as her victim uniform, a muted gray dress, minimal makeup, hair softer and less perfectly styled than usual. Subdued, sad, symbolic. Nathan saw it too. His jaw tightened. She wanted to look wronged. She wanted sympathy before the conversation even began. William trailed behind her, looking 10 years older than he had the week before. They sat down across from us. Barbara reached across the table, hands outstretched, like she expected me to fall into them. I folded mine neatly in my lap. Her smile faltered. Daphne, sweetie, she began, voice trembling with practiced fragility. I'm so deeply sorry for any misunderstanding between us. It took everything in me not to laugh. It wasn't a misunderstanding, I said calmly. You impersonated me to obtain private medical information. Barbara blinked, her face falling into wounded confusion, like I was the one being unreasonable. I've already apologized for that, she insisted. Multiple times. No, Nathan said sharply. You apologize for how Daphne felt, not for what you did. Barbara's lips twitched, but she said nothing. I continued. You didn't acknowledge impersonating me. You didn't acknowledge violating my privacy. You didn't acknowledge that you ruined our gender reveal because you couldn't stand not being in control. Barbara sucked in a breath. I was trying to be involved, she said, voice cracking. I was doing what any caring grandmother would do. And now you're punishing me by keeping my grandson away from me. I met her eyes. This isn't punishment, I said. This is protection. We need people around our son who respect boundaries. Boundaries? Barbara repeated, like the word was an insult. He's my grandson. Not yet, I said. He's my unborn child, and you violated me before he even arrived. Barbara recoiled as though I'd slapped her. You are cruel. Her voice rose enough to turn heads. Cruel! William, tell them they're being cruel. William took a slow sip of his coffee, stared at the cup for a moment, and said quietly, Barbara, they're setting reasonable boundaries. Her mouth fell open. I've been telling you for 35 years, William continued, weary and calm. that your behavior has consequences. You don't get to control grown adults. I wasn't controlling anyone, Barbara snapped. Mom. Nathan leaned forward. You impersonated my pregnant wife. You screamed at her in our backyard. You revealed our baby's gender without us. That is control. Barbara's eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time. But I didn't mean... Yes, I said softly. You did. Silence. Barbara's tears spilled. You're taking her from me, she whispered. You're letting her drive a wedge. I'm losing my son. Nathan's voice cracked. Mom, you didn't lose me. You pushed me. He took my hand under the table. I squeezed back. Mom, he continued, we're asking for one thing. Accountability. Real accountability. Not guilt trips. Not manipulation. Just acknowledgement of the harm you caused. And if I don't, she whispered, then you won't be involved in our son's life, Nathan said. Not unsupervised. Not until we can trust you. Barbara let out a soft, shaking sob. You're all against me, she said. All of you. She stood abruptly, her chair screeching across the floor. I will not be treated like this, she cried. After everything I've done for this family. She grabbed her purse, storming out, tears streaking mascara down her cheeks. Every head in the cafe followed her exit. William stayed seated another moment, his shoulders sagging. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I wish I could fix her. I really do. You don't have to fix her, I said. Just take care of yourself. He nodded, stood, and followed his wife out the door. Nathan and I sat there in silence for a full minute before he finally spoke. That, he whispered, was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I know, I said softly, but you did it. Nathan looked at me with a shaky exhale. Do you think she'll ever really get it? He asked. I thought of Barbara storming out. The tears, the theatrics, the unwillingness to hear anything that didn't paint her as the victim. I don't know, I said honestly, but I know this. We can't sacrifice our son's safety or our own sanity waiting for her to change. Nathan nodded slowly, reluctant, resolute. We'll protect him, he said, together. And for the first time in a long time, I believed him. Barbara didn't call for 3 days after the morning grind incident. On day 4, she sent 27 texts. On day 5, she sent 2 long voice messages that were essentially dramatic monologues about forsaken mothers, rejected grandmothers, and the cruelty of ungrateful children. By day 10, she had deputized half the extended family to guilt trip us on her behalf. Then she escalated. She contacted Nathan's grandmother, an 86-year-old who could barely work her cell phone, and told her that we were denying her a dying wish to meet her great-grandson. Nathan had to explain, gently and repeatedly, that his grandmother was absolutely still invited, absolutely loved, and absolutely being manipulated. It was exhausting. It was predictable. It didn't change a thing. And still, among all the chaos, life kept moving. 2 months later, the nursery was finally finished. Nathan's mural, the forest he'd started painting before everything exploded, covered the entire wall now. Tall trees, stretching toward a painted sunrise. Soft leaves, a fox curled under a branch, hidden owls peeking from behind painted bark. A whole world waiting for a little boy who hadn't even taken his first breath. I stood in the doorway, one hand on my belly, feeling the gentle kick beneath my palm. Hey, little man, I whispered, your forest is ready. Haley was helping me hang a gallery wall of family photos. She held up a frame. Where does this one go? Wedding day? Top row, I said. What about these? She asked quietly, holding up photos that included Barbara and William. I stared at them for a long moment. We're not erasing them, I said finally, but they don't go in the center. Haley nodded. Middle row? Bottom, I said, not hidden, but not featured. Haley gave me a look, soft, proud, a little sad. You're handling this better than most people would. I'm trying, I said. I don't want my son growing up surrounded by conflict, but I also won't let someone walk all over us. Especially not someone who thinks she owns the baby, Haley muttered. I sighed. Still no real apology, no accountability, just guilt trips, triangulation, and selective amnesia. Some days, I wondered if Barbara truly believed she'd done nothing wrong. Other days, I thought she knew exactly what she'd done and felt entitled to do worse. That evening, Nathan and I sat in the nursery, rocking gently in the chair we'd assembled weeks ago. He rested a hand on my belly, feeling the subtle movements. Can I tell you something? He asked quietly. Always. I've been talking with my therapist. He had started going a month ago. I was proud of him, more proud than he realized. And I think I finally understand why this hurt so much. I waited. He took a breath. My whole life, moms needed to be the center of everything. Holidays, family decisions, birthdays. She always framed it like she was helping, like we were ungrateful if we didn't agree. He swallowed. Growing up, every boundary I tried to set turned into a guilt trip or a fight. So eventually I stopped trying. I thought it wasn't worth the conflict. I reached for his hand, threading my fingers through his. "You're allowed to protect yourself," I whispered. "I know," he said, "but it took this, what she did to you, to our baby, for me to see how deep it ran. And I hate that she put you through that. I hate that the happiest time of your life was tainted by her." I leaned my head on his shoulder. "The happiest time of our lives," I corrected him. He nodded, eyes glistening. "We'll be okay," I said. "Our son will be okay, because we're choosing peace this time, not obedience." Nathan exhaled a long, shaky breath, a breath he'd been holding for decades. "You're right," he whispered, and something in him unlocked. "Right there," softly. "Finally." Later that night, I filmed a video for our memory box, a message for our future son. I looked into the camera and said, "I hope you grow up knowing that family isn't just blood. It's behavior, it's choice, it's how people treat you, and you will be surrounded by people who love you, not because they own you, but because they cherish you." I touched my belly, and I hope you know I protected you long before you ever took your first breath. To this day, Barbara still hasn't given a real apology. She still sends articles about grandparents' rights. She still manipulates relatives. She still paints herself as the victim in every retelling. But none of that changes the truth. I didn't lose a mother-in-law. I lost an illusion. And in its place, I gained something far more important. My voice, my boundaries, and the peace my son deserves.